Hello and welcome back. It's puzzle time with Sudoku Sleuth. And I know this particular puzzle, looking at the thumbnail, the title, is a couple of days too late. But I'm not going to get the fact that this is not quite a timely post of the puzzle get in the way of a highly rated puzzle from being played. I think this one has a 93% rating, so really looking forward to it. It's also got a fairly straightforward set of rules, so it's going to rely on more of these classic Sudoku tricks that I tend to really struggle with to try and make some progress, I suspect. Now, in the thumbnail, you've got there Sleuth admiring the fireworks, which typically, at least here in London, they happen around the London Eye, sort of opposite Westminster. You can see Big Ben on the left there. You can see the London Eye front and center and tons of fireworks. And that's actually something that Mrs. Sleuth and I did a few years ago. We used to live not far from a place in London called Primrose Hill, and used to have this phenomenal vantage point of the fireworks and the city in general, where you can get to enjoy it in relative peace and quiet compared to the riverfront really next to the London Eye. Now, of course, nowadays fireworks is almost like a swear word. In the Sleuth household, our dog absolutely hates them. And in fact, New Year's Eve, we kind of spent it in the kitchen, well, really the utility room, where our eldest dog was hiding inside the dryer because just nowhere else was good enough to actually mute the loud fireworks that really started from 8 p.m. for us here after the rain let out. So if you're amongst the audience that is continuing to celebrate until now, please, go for one shot. Don't keep doing it all night, and certainly don't go past 11 p.m., please. Right, enough of that introduction. Let's take a look at the actual puzzle. We have 2024 by Tingo. We featured a handful of puzzles from Tingo by now, and they're always absolutely phenomenal. And as you can see, it is very much paying respect to 2024 and the year ahead, with everything being about 2024. We've got little killer rules there on the outside, 20s, 24s, killer cage rules, 20, 24, etc. But not a lot to go on other than really probably the geometry of this puzzle. So, shall we take a look at the rules and let's get started. Normal Sudoku rules apply, so that means place the digits 1 to 9 once each in every row, in every column, and in every 3x3 box. That's the first rule. Second rule is digits in killer cages must sum to the small total in the top left corner of the cage, and digits may not repeat in cages. Not sure what the relevance is of the small total, but everything basically here is either a 20 or 24. And if we start with, if I try and sort of plug in any numbers in any of these, it will be almost like a partial solve. So essentially what this is saying is these three cells, which are outlined by this killer cage here and these dashed lines, these three cells must sum up to the total of 24. These 5 cells, as outlined by that cage, must sum up to a total of 20, and so on and so forth. We also have digits along little killer clues must sum to the value of the little killer clue. So that's the values that are there on the outside, and digits along the little killer lines may repeat if allowed by other rules. So this arrow that's clearly pointing at this diagonal is saying these 4 cells must sum up to 20. And there is nothing wrong with this cell and this cell being the same. Sudoku is not preventing it. Little killer is not preventing it. So that's clearly something that we're going to have to watch out for. Well, that's it in terms of rule set. Only to sort of wish you a happy new year in 2024 on behalf of Tingo, since it's very clearly spelt out there. And if you want to play along, I'm sure everybody wants to celebrate the year ahead. So link will be in the description down below for you to play along as usual. And with that said, I'm going to restart the clock and see how I get on. Now, the 24 cage in 3 cells, of which we have quite a few of them actually, 3 of them, they're actually fixed. But that's not what caught my eye. What caught my eye is the 24 and the 20 cage when I was explaining the killer cage rule. If you add these two up, they add up to 44. Now, something that we know because of Sudoku is that all of these cells are made up of the digits 1 to 9. If you add up the digits 1 to 9 up, they will add up to 45. Now we can see 44 of them in box 1, meaning this has to be a 1. And in fact, I'm kind of tempted to, before I come back to 24 cage, just to see where else I can actually place ones. You can see same thing in box 5, that's 44, that has to be a 1. Box 8, that's the same, that has to be the 1 to make sure it adds up to 45, and the same in box 7. Goodness. Row 1, you can see 24 plus 20, that's another 1. What else can we see? We can sort of try and make some deductions about what this is, by the way, but I'll come back to that probably later. Where else am I going to go, though? You can see that 1 is in one of 2 cells in box 9, just Sudoku, eliminating all of these cells, leaving these 2 on the table. That's actually just the 1 in here because you got 1s eliminating all of these. So that was the only place that the 1 can be in box 2. We've very nearly done all the 1s at this point. Lots of places for 1. Right, so 24 cage in 3 cells can only be done in one of 2 ways. Sorry, it can only be done in one way, and it is 7, 8, and 9. Now, I deliberately did this because try and see where 1 goes now. It's in one of 2 places. Sorry, I just paused there for a second to glance at box 4, which I actually haven't placed a 1, so it's still in 2 places. But it does give me box 9. That's not a 1, that's a 1. And I actually just want to come back to here, because we've placed a 1 in a 24 cage, leaving us 3 cells that add up to 23. So this can only be done in one way as well, which is 6, 8, and 9. That adds up to 23. These add up to 43 together. This cell has to be a 2. But really, the reason I sort of went down this whole route is these are not 1s. This is not 1. That's clearly not a 1 anymore because the remainder needed to be a 2 in this box. That's the 1. That's not a 1. That's 1. And I think that is all the 1s done. That's 9 of them. That's a lovely start to the puzzle. Hopefully a fabulous start to the year as well. So where else am I going to go next? So I'll tell you something that kind of I noticed earlier, and I don't know if it's too early and we need to sort of come back to it later on. But take a look at this row, row 3, where we've already placed 25, and we have 3 cells that must add up to 15. Now the tricky part is I've already placed 7, 8, and 9 in box 1. So the absolute maximum I can make this now is 5 and 6, leaving a remainder of 9. And I'm placing the 9 because really if I try and go any lower than that, it means this digit would actually have to be higher than 9, which I can't place in a single cell. So that is 5, 6, that is forced. That is a 9, that is forced. That's 2, 3, and 4 that's left. We'll come back to those later. I want to take a look at this 24 cage and this 1. Ignore the 9 for the second because we know the totality of this. We know this. This is 25. We have another 15 in here. Now in 3 cells without a 9, I think, so I have to have an 8 because 5, 6, and 7 is only, do I have to have an 8? I'm sorry, I'm trying to get to, not 15, 20. So yeah, I do have to have an 8 because 5, 6, and 7 is only 18. So 8 is definitely in there. Now I need a 12. And 8, 4 is not available. 9, 3 is not available. So this can only be 5, 7, and 8. Which is sort of inviting me to have a look at this little killer clue now. I mean, I'm slowly filling in these options for these little killer clues, but in general, they're not very good clues. Yeah, in general, they're not very good clues in the sense that, you know, if I try and show you with this 20, we know that because of this 9 that these two cells can add up to 11. Now, I've already pencil marked in the 7, 8, 9. So the maximum this can be is 6. But, I can go all the way down to 3. And because I've already placed the 9. So I can go 8, 7, 6, 5. And you can see I've somewhat limited my options, but there's still a lot of them. So I'm not that keen, if I'm honest, to go around trying to pencil mark the little killer cages. But a 3-cell little killer clue is more tempting, especially since I've placed 5, 7, and 8, and 1. Not that I could have used 1 in a 3-cell 20 little killer clue. Let's have a think. So question 1 is, can I do this without a 9? And I think the answer to this will be no, because I've already placed 5, 7, and 8. So the maximum I can make this is an 8, a 6. That's already at 14. I'd need a second 6, and that's clearly going to be broken. So I need a 9 in this 3 cells. It can only be in here because of this 7, 8, and 9. So now I need these to add up to 11, which is unfortunately again quite easy. The 8 goes with a 3, the 7 goes with a 4, and the 5 would go with a 6. So not quite helpful enough, once again. I'm actually not entirely certain where to take this. I'm sort of keeping an eye for, Sleuth. 6, 8, 9, staring at a 7, 8, 9, that's a 7. 7, 8, 9, staring at a 5, 7, 8, that's a 5. So, I could have taken it a bit further. 5, 9, 14, 6. That's not 6, that's not 5. Slowly whittling things down, so yeah, maybe pay attention, Sleuth. 6, 8, 9, 20 cage, probably worthwhile taking a look at column 1, just to see what have I left. I'll just corner pencil mark that 5 in here. Corner pencil mark these 5s in there. And then I'll come back to all of this. So it feels like there's more there to be discovered. Actually, that's not a 2. Maybe just tidy up as well. And then let's take a look at column 1. So I know that the 5 is in the 20 cage. Kind of trying to think, what else do I know? So these are from 2, 3, 4, and 5. Just to complete column 1. Now, 3 of them are clearly part of the 20 cage, and the maximum that is 3, 4, 5 with an 8 to get it to 20. 3, 4, 5 would be a 12. The lowest I can do in here would be 2, 4, 5 with a 9. And I have an 8, 9 pair now in column 2. But what more importantly is that both the 4s and the 5s have to be in here, meaning this can't be 4 or 5, that's just 2 or 3. And then essentially I have an 8 or 9. No. So essentially I have 9 in here with the 4, 5, and then I have 2 digits that add up to 11. And it's either the 9 and 2 or the 8 and 3. And I'm pointing at this cell because I'm just pointing at it, but obviously this could be the 4, and then somewhere in here could be the 2 or 3. What I then have is a 6 and 7 that's in the 24 cage, and then the remaining 2 cells, whether it's 9, 2 or 8, 3, are also in here to add up to the remaining 13 that we need to get to 24. A long way of saying I haven't got anything out of all of this math, so let's move on. I do know where the 6 is, though, in this row. 6 means it's not in these 2 cells. It's clearly not in this 24 cage, and it's not here. That's the only place for a 6. That gives me the 5 and the 6. Does that actually help me? No, the 5s were always in here, and the 5 was always in the 20 cage. So not sure it really does, if I'm honest. It is on the 20 killer clue. Still feels premature, because that takes away 6. That means that these have to add up to 14. And maybe worthwhile thinking about. Let's think about this. So the minimum this can be is a 3. So that would be 9, forcing in here to be an 11, which is entirely achievable with all of these options because I could have 2, 3, and 5. And if this is 10, I would need an 8. Hang on. Did I just do something? No, I need a 10, which would disqualify the 9, but still premature to disqualify it. And no, I'm not sure it's here either. I mean, by placing the 6, I even don't know what this cell is. So I know that this is a maximum of 5 with 15 between those, and that's so these are at least 14, and that feels quite easy to achieve. So I don't think this is where I should go next either. Tingo, Tingo, Tingo. Where are we meant to go, Tingo? 2, 3, 4s, is that helpful? Is that 20 not resolved? So something that maybe I'm going to do for purely for my benefit is, I'm not going to bother with this one, I've already colored it, is highlight all the cages that add up, all the killer clues that add up to 20, little killer clues, all the ones that add up to 24 in a different color, just in case, as I keep filling in this grid, it sort of acts as a reminder that I should be looking at it. So we essentially have, here's something, that's 5. You see, column, that's very random, column 7, I have 2, 3, 4 left, and I need 2 of those, but it can't be this cell because we've got 2, 3, 4 pointing at it, and a 5. So that's got to be the 5. That's not a 5. Therefore, that's not a 6. That's 2, 3, or 4. That's 7 or 8. So in this 24, or at least the remainder of that 24, there's this 7, 8 goes in here because it's not at the top with 7, 8, 9. In fact, I have another 7, 8 in here. So just a bit of Sudoku. 7, 8, you can see as eliminated from this cell. 7, 8, 9, eliminated from this cell. That's the last 7, 8 that we needed in box 3. Then we have 2, 3, 4, and a 6 somewhere in here. It would be really helpful if I can figure out which one is the 6, but I'm not sure. At least not yet. No, I am. Because I need a third 2, 3, 4 in this box. And all 3 of them, again, are staring at this cell. So that's a 6. That's another 2, 3, 4. That's a 2, 3, 4 triplet. That's a 5, 6, essentially pair. That's another 2, 3, 4 run. That's not a 2. I really dislike, by the way, having to pencil mark so much, but I'm finding like I need to make some progress here. This is from 7, 8, and 9 with a definite 9. Essentially, this 7, 8 is in here with the 9. We should be able to kind of fill what... No. Can I discount anything? I probably could. I haven't used this 24 cage, and I should. 10, 15, I need 9 between these 2 cells. Only way I can get to 9 is this being a 7 and this being a 2. And that helps, I'm sure, tons. Such as, where does 2 go in column 7? It can only be in here. And this is an 8, 8. This 3, 4 is not resolved. This 3, 4 now gives me another pair. So I know what these are. This is 2, 5, and 6. And I need in here another 7, 8 with a 3 and 4. So I feel like I just keep missing... I don't want to call them obvious Sudokus. They really don't feel obvious. But there you go. Like this 8 here gives me a 9. Now, if you remember, I have 4, 5 with something that adds to 11. So it's 9 and 2 with a 4, 5. There are no 3s in here. That's the 3. That's the 4. That's the 2. That's now a 10. These need to add up to 10. Can't be 6s because there's no 4 to go with them. So 6s are gone. In fact, the only way I can get to 10 is an 8 and a 2. So that's not 8. These are not 2. 24 is quite tempting now. I'll probably take a look at that in a second. That's not 8. I don't know why I removed the 9. That's a 6-9 pair. That's 2, 4, 5. That's 2 in here. That's a 4. That's a 3. That's a 4. 4, 3, not 4s. Can't resolve these 2 5s. Look at 7. That's a 7. That's 8 and 3. I don't know the order of these. I need in here a 3, 8, or 9 just to complete this column. And it's not 8, not 9. That's a 3. That's an 8. That's a 3. That's a 9. That's an 8. Okay, we're making progress. I like it. 20 clue, tempting. These need to add up to 11. So it's either a 9 with a 2, possible, or 6 with a 5, possible. It gives me a 2-5 pair, which allows me to write in a 3. Actually, that 2 is staring at this 2-5 pair. That's a 5, that's a 2, that's a 5. These needed to add up to 11. That's a 6, that's the 9. That's not a 9. That 6 gives me the 5 and the 6. There you go. It's slowly unwinding now. No 7, 8s. Oh, no, hang on. It's not here to stay. That 20, that's 13. That needs to be a 7 to get to 20. That's an 8. These are not 7s. That's an 8, 9. This is 3, 4, 7 now. That's not a 3 because of this 3. How are we doing for time? 17 minutes. It's getting there. I'll be honest though, it is hard work. That's 10. That's 15. These two need to add up to 9. 6 would go with a 3, which is not available. So that's a 4 with a 5 and a 6. Does that 5, 6 help me elsewhere? No. These are 7 and... I was going to say 7 and 8. That's not true. 5 and 8. That 5 gives me the order. That's 5. That's 8. Sorry. 5 and 7. That's not 7. No. Oh, no, that's not a 4. Doesn't help me resolve the triplet, nor this triplet. Conveniently, the 7, 8, 9 are on different rows, so are the 2, 3, 4s. Okay. I think I've basically used all the little killer clues at this point, except the 24. And it's very close to being resolved. I've got 13, meaning I need 11 in here. It's got to be the minimum of what's on offer. So it's got to be the 8 and 3. That gives me the 2, the 4, the 9. And from here on, we've pretty much used, I'm going to say almost all the clues except the 24 in the middle, 20/24. So we'll probably need those in a moment to actually help us resolve and close everything. But can we do a bit of quick Sudoku to tidy up? What are these? These are 4, 6. This is 2, 4, 6. And I'm just looking up there. You know, I've got 2, 5, and 6, and 4 could go anywhere. So I'm not sure this is where I need to go next. The 3, 4, 7 is not simplified any further. So yeah, time to look at in box 5. I need a second 8, 9 and a 2, which I can just place, which allows me to place the 2 in here. This is now 4, 6. Willing to pencil mark that. That 2 tells me there is 22 left. I really do need a lot of high digits in here. Now, it's not entirely forced, like 6, 8, 9 with 23 or something like that. But I think I need to have a 9. Because 6, 7, 8 is 21. So I need to have a 9 in here for sure. One of these is a 9. And then that's 11. I need 13 in here. So it's either 5, 8, which is not available, or 6, 7, which is available. So I'm going to say this is now 6, 7, 9. That's 9 because there's 6, 7 staring at it. So that's 9. These are not 9. Do I know either of them? I don't think so. At least not yet. I now have an 8 in here, That gives me the 7. That gives me the 9. That gives me the 6, the 7. The 6 gives me the 4, the 6. This is not 7. That's just even better. This is definitely a 3. That's definitely an 8. These are not 8s, and that's not a 3. 4, 7 pair with a 7, 9. That 9 actually helps me resolve it. 7 and 9, 4 and 7. And then a 20 cage that is made up of 3, 4, 5. That's 12 and an 8. Yep, adds up to 20. We're good. Let's see, where does 3 go? 4, 5, and if I've not made any mistakes, 8, and a solution to today's puzzle. It's a lovely puzzle, Tingo. Tons of references to 2024, of course. Hope that you guys have a fabulous year ahead. And hope that you enjoyed the puzzle and the video. I think the video was largely okay of a solve. Occasionally I sort of missed some very obvious Sudoku that I just needed to spot. But aside from that, pretty straightforward solve. See you guys for the next one. Bye-bye for now.